Good day. My name is Defort Villasaran, and you're watching the Manila Times Coffee Break. And today, our episode will be about lawyers in the social network, wherein we talk about the law ethics and practice in the digital space. With us today are four lawyers who are not just professionals, but actually good friends in terms of their practice and in their way of helping the overall law industry in the Philippines. With us today is Attorney Montano Nazario Jr. He is a partner at CNVD Law. We also have Attorney Melissa Encanto Tagarda, who is the head of San Miguel Corporation Infrastructure Group's, the group for government and public relations. And then we also have Attorney Christian Vicente Gargantiel, who is a partner at GLO. He is the G in GIA Law. And last but not least, we have Catherine Celine Castro, who is an associate with Mosvelt Law. Good day, hello everyone, and happy Chinese New Year. And I thank you for taking time out. I know you're very in demand lawyers, and so your time is gold here. Welcome. And
Good, good day, Defort. Thank you for having us here in Coffee Break of Manila Times. It's always a pleasure to be appearing and talking with you and Manila Times.
so, attorneys, if you'll allow me, just to have our viewers who are non-lawyers who be more familiar with you and your firms and your companies. Perhaps we can start with Attorney Nazario. You are actually the N in CNBD of Con Nazario Velasco Catera and Divina Gracia. Did I say it correctly?
Yes, correct. I'm the
Uh,
Nazario. I'm the N in CNVD law. Yes.
Yes. Could you share with us a little bit more about your involvement with the firm, your day-to-day operations? How did you get started with the group?
Well, CNVD law is a small law office which is forged in friendship and cultivated in the respect that the lawyers and the staffs have for each other. Um, our goal is to provide clients with the expertise of a traditional large law firm, but the attention and responsiveness and cost effectiveness of solo practitioners, the dynamic and creative and business friendly approach of young professionals such as us. so, so there.
Your profile actually describes the firm as innovative and personalized. So I guess you're more flexible in being able to meet the needs of your individual
Yeah,
clients.
yes, that's correct. We are more into the personal relationship with clients because that's the forte of a small law office.
Okay. In terms of the other side of the spectrum, we have a larger organization such as San Miguel Corporation, and it's very prominent infrastructure group at present. So, Attorney Tagarda, you're very much involved with the government and public relations aspect of the group.
Yes,
Could
that's
you tell
right.
us more about how you got involved with this large or entity, this large organization?
Well, I started my career as a lawyer, as a litigation associate from the ACRA law. And then after a couple of years, I transferred to government as the chief of staff of the former dean of the Ateneo Law School when he entered the government. And then
Mhm.
after a while, I got recruited to join San Miguel Corporation's telco group. At that time, we were trying to set up the third telco player in the country. Shortly after, we let go of that project, and I ended up in the infrastructure group as a lawyer. And eventually, I guess they realized that lawyers can actually also do public relations and government relations work. If you notice, a lot of lawyers are actually involved in these fields. And so I handle that for SMC Infrastructure, which is the group involved in the projects that are currently in the news today.
Yes. So I imagine you find yourself having to deal with a lot of media people, and you're not at all camera shy anymore.
Well, I've learned to adjust given that Zoom is actually an easier platform to deal with.
Oh yes, I guess as if once you start feeling a little more conscious, you just look left and right, and you realize that your bed's there or your kitchen is right there, and suddenly the pressure's a little bit less, and you feel more comfortable to just to give the information that people need.
That's right.
Yes. Well, in terms of what people need, I think Attorney Gargantiel, that's part of the reason why you had gone the Maverick way and decided to set up your practice in Quezon City as opposed to the usual central business districts of Ortigas, Makati, or Alabang, right?
Yes, it started the law office or Gargantiel law office about 10 years ago, and then later on, my partners, attorneys Ilagan and Atanante joined. So we formed GL Law. So our law firm, it handles litigation, it handles corporate labor, and if I may say, we're also the external counsel of the Manila Times. So yeah,
Yes.
pwede na sabihin yun, di ba?
Yeah,
And
I
then
guess if ever I find myself in a liable situation, I know who to call.
always there for them, of course. Andiyan kami palagi. Um, we chose Quezon City because I think we believe that the location is strategic. Most law firms are situated in Makati and in Ortigas as well as Taguig. There's no medium or large law firm situated in Quezon City. That's why we started here.
Hmm.
We wanted to be, well, with the help of other colleagues, we want to establish a practice in Quezon City. That's what we're trying to do right now. There are other brilliant lawyers in our group, but in the meantime, it's uh, it's fine, or it's an honor working with the three other brilliant lawyers we have here.
I find it interesting that apart from your individual firms and your individual practices, you actually have a group within the area of Quezon City, or at least the areas that are adjacent to the Quezon City hub of business. Uh, is this unique, or are there other like area groups of lawyers that as let's say part of those or part of the umbrella organizations of law, such as the Integrated Bar of the Philippines and whatnot.
Uh, in terms of population or membership, the chapter of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines in Quezon City, I think, is the largest. It has about 8,000 members, if I'm
Mhm.
not mistaken. And on February 27, it's a Saturday, there will be an election of officers of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines for Quezon City.
Oh,
So
okay.
we take this opportunity as well to invite our colleagues or chapter members in Quezon City to go out and vote on February 27.
So this is only for Quezon City, the IBP elections, or is it simultaneous with the other areas in the country?
Simultaneous, it happens all throughout the country. All lawyers are encouraged to vote for the officers of their respective chapters.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar, but once you are inducted into the lawyering field, you actually have a chapter that you have to put in the Supreme Court. And so it so happened that we all chose Quezon City for one reason or the other. And it's the largest chapter we are aware of.
I see. Well, Attorney Castro, given that the group is pretty much focused on the Quezon City chapter of organization and development, do I understand correctly that since you represent Mossvelt Law, is the headquarters of your law firm is situated on the border of Quezon City? Is it still in Pasig, or is there like a satellite office in the Quezon City area?
Well, Mossville is actually situated in Pasig,
Hmm.
but I live in QC. That's why I actually joined the Quezon City chapter of the IBP.
I see. Okay.
Yes, but I don't really represent my firm when I joined the IBP chapter. So it's a personal decision of the lawyer to which chapter he or she wants to belong to.
So that's interesting because I think in terms of your advocacy for the industry itself, it's not necessarily tied in or restricted by your affiliations with a firm or corporation. Like it's pretty much more on the area where you find yourself doing most of your or practicing your profession most often.
Yes.
So
Uh,
could you tell us a little bit more, Attorney Castro, about uh, your involvement with the industry, your
In the
how you got
profession.
yeah how you got started with Mossbelt Law and with the group.
So yeah, I recently passed the bar examinations. It was only last year when the results of my bar examinations came out, and um, I then applied to Moscow Law, and so that's how I started my journey with the said firm. And the reason why I applied or I joined IBPQC was aside from the fact that um, I live, actually, it's border Marikina and Quezon City, but it's closer to Quezon City. My dad has been an active member of IBPQC. That's why I decided to join IBPQC.
No, but let me give you a follow-up question. Like in terms of your involvement with the group, what sorts of activities or functions do you perform, or how do you help out with the organization of uh, the Quezon City chapter of the IBP?
So my main goal is to be able to sort of connect IBPQC to the lawyers of my generation who belong to the IBPQC, to make them be involved also in the IBP chapter.
This is actually interesting and relevant because in a previous interview I had with lawyers, a lot of them, or at least half of them, were lady lawyers, and all of them were a relatively fresh batch of lawyers or up and coming. And they had mentioned how they noticed that they seem to have more lady lawyers joining or studying the field, and at the same time, there's a whole lot of them. In terms of both male and female. So I think you're right, there is a need to be able to connect with the new lawyers and a lot of the aspiring lawyers, particularly those who say that they've never thought that as women, more of them would be, if not more of them studying or getting to the practice, there seems to be actually slightly more women than men. I don't. Has that been something in your experience? Have you? I don't have any empirical. I haven't been able to look at any empirical data on that. But this is the observation that has been shared with me by practitioners and those taking up the study of law.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, in my college, there are more women than men pursuing this profession. And also, in the practice of law, there are several women who have, should I say, dominated this well, in the legal field. And it's just really inspiring to see the difference of how the society viewed women years ago and how women have already proved themselves to be as, good as men in practicing the law and in becoming part of the legal profession.
Maybe Attorney Tagarda might agree with that.
Well, when I was studying the law, there were also more women
Mhm.
students than the men. Um, I'm not quite sure I have the numbers correct, but I think there were also a couple of bar top notchers who were women for my batch.
Mhm.
So I think it's only because the landscape has changed in terms of opportunities for women. Maybe 40 years ago, there were not a lot of women who were given the chance to rise the ranks in the field of law. But in the past 10 years or 20 years, I can safely say that a lot more women have become more prominent in the field. And I'm very happy to say that I think that the men have also learned to accept that the women are
Mhm.
equals in the profession.
Attorney Gargantiel, I think
I
you were
can't
about to say
argue
something
with that.
earlier.
I can't argue that women are definitely blazing a trail in the legal profession.
Mhm.
In our law firm, more than half of the lawyers are women. So I can't argue with that. I agree.
Mhm. Attorney Nazario, do you concur?
Yes,
Any objections from?
I would agree with them because all of our associates are women, and we only have two partners who are men.
Mhm.
So I think the KSL is correct that women are dominating the the legal profession now.
So you've
You'll see
been
that
validated,
every
Attorney
time.
Castro.
You'll see that every time in social media. You'll see that
Mhm.
in the net. Most lawyers are really women and making a mark in the legal profession.
Well, that brings us to actually to our topic, which is the lawyer social network. It's a bit of a play on, if you're familiar with the movie about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, the social network. We wanted to be able to discuss the duality of both the association of lawyers, such as the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, and the other cell groups that organize themselves, yourselves, in terms of the more specific needs of a particular area or sphere. And then, of course, there's the aspect of social media and the practice of law, because there are things that start or begin there is that very pressing need to apply the principles of law in terms of our social media use and practice. And particularly, we have cases like cyber libel. We have a lot of issues on privacy. Perhaps maybe we can get the ball rolling with Attorney Nazario. If I could maybe ask you to share some of your views in terms of as either in connection with your practice in CNBD law or from your personal experience. In what ways has a social network? Well, let's start with pre-pandemic days. How has it affected or boosted even your client base?
Well, social media has strongly contributed to our successful business growth because of the digital age now. Our law firm was encouraged to establish a strong social media presence to maintain our competitive edge. For one, having an active social media account made our firm more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And by posting regular informative updates on our social media, we were able to draw more clients as well. And well, clearly, social media has greatly helped us in introducing our law firm to new clients.
Well, in terms of let's say either the case files of your firm or your from your past experience on social media use, in terms of social media use, what are ethical considerations for lawyers then?
In terms of the ethical considerations regarding the use of social media, um, well, I think. Wait lang.
In
sorry,
our
sorry, 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 sorry.
in our experience at Gargantian Ilagan at Anante, we have, or even I think the other my colleagues here will agree. One of the considerations when we use social media is to draw the line between expressing yourself, reaching out to the public, and advertising or soliciting clients.
Mm-hmm.
Former is allowed. It's a guaranteed right actually. But when it steps the line that separates it from lawyer advertising or client solicitation, there will be a problem. In the Philippines, lawyers are not allowed to advertise. That's why we in our law firm we always in our law firm, and I believe in the law firms of attorneys Nazario and Castro as well, and even in the company of attorney Tagarda,
Mm-hmm.
we always believe that the best advertisement is a good reputation, good professional reputation. We can't advertise. We are only allowed to make our services known through publication in a law list or using modest business cards. And mind you, the business card can only show the name of the lawyer, the name of the law firm, the address, contact details, and the area of practice. But because we already are in the age of social media, there is a kicker to that limitation.
Mhm.
The the that standard on commercial speech, which prohibits lawyers from from advertising or soliciting clients and just limiting their their PR approach to modest business cards and lawless publications. That's no longer absolutely true, considering that we have social media. We now have websites, we have blogs, we have social media accounts, we have email, we even have QR codes. So in participating in online platforms, our group, our Quezon City group, always take into consideration the limitations on advertising and client solicitation. However, since times are changing, social media is becoming more extensive. We think that resort to online platforms should not be quickly or instantaneously branded as client solicitation or your advertising. So, but we always take that into consideration.
Well, may I add to that? Since law is a service oriented profession, to achieve superior client service, we see to it that we maintain high ethical standards when fulfilling our professional responsibilities. With the increase of use of social media by law offices as well as the government agencies, legal ethics committees such as IBP, the Supreme Court, are beginning to pay close attention to the legal profession they're doing on social media. Well, I think the Supreme Court has released issuances reminding judges and courts to be watchful when sharing social network sites. And as lawyers, we must learn how to balance and exercise the freedom of expression also, and our duty to uphold the integrity and dignity of the legal profession.
I guess I just want to add two ethical considerations because it used to be that your life in social media was supposedly your private life versus your professional life. But there have been recent cases wherein this was no longer the case. Some lawyers have actually been taken for taken into cases wherein there was no separation of their private life versus what they put in social media, and there were instances wherein the judges were actually barred from putting a life in social media that made them susceptible to the possibility that they were not being ethical, because you can't really separate the two. Whatever you put on Facebook, for example, will show what kind of lawyer you are. You cannot say that that's your life in social media and that you're a different lawyer from what you put there. I think that personally, I think that whatever you put on Facebook or in social media will show the kind of lawyer you are. So these are the ethical considerations that we have to consider when we put a face in social media versus the law practice that we do.
Yes.
So
I
do you think then that you can no longer say or separate your private life from your privacy from that of your professional your what you the facade or what you project out as your professional image?
Well, actually, you should be able to protect your private life. I think what I'm trying to say is whatever we put on social media will actually also state the kind of practice that we do. We cannot separate both and say that no, you cannot hold me accountable for whatever opinion I place on social media, because that was me as attorney Melissa Encanto versus, or as Melissa Encanto versus me as Melissa Encanto Tagarda. These cannot be, or sorry, as attorney Melissa Encanto Tagarda, these two cannot be separated. Because people have been arguing that whatever they put on social media cannot be used against them. But that's not the case, because as lawyers, we hold a higher degree of ethics, supposedly, and we're supposed to be examples as to how justice will be carried out. And so whatever we put in the media should also show what kind of lawyer we are. We can't say that this is my private life. Whatever I put in social media is not supposed to be used against me, because in the Philippines, actually, privacy is actually an anomaly because you cannot separate both. There have been cases such as students who were not allowed to graduate because they put pictures of themselves drinking in social media, and the parents of these students actually brought the school that did not allow them to graduate to court, saying that these are private lives. But you cannot separate both. The Supreme Court has decided that the students rightly should not graduate because they did not show ethical behavior when they posted these pictures in social media. And if so, if these students were held accountable, then why should lawyers not be held accountable as well, when we're supposed to be more morally upright than those who are just students at that time?
Another way.
Just to,
Go ahead, Kate.
it's
Chelsea.
okay.
Go ahead, Kate,
I'll
please.
go after you.
Well, basically, if it's an information of a person shared in social media, that reduces that person's expectation of privacy. So another way of putting it is that the more open the manner of sharing one's information, the less privacy that such party can reasonably expect. Ano yan eh, hindi pwedeng bitaw ka lang ng bitaw, walang balik. Palaging may katumbas na may katumbas na pag-shed ng privacy yan. For example, if a person, a lawyer for example, wants to contribute or exercise his or her obligation as a member of society, and that lawyer is doing that through social media, that is also an acceptance of the fact that when you share something, you express yourself to social media, especially if it involves a matter of public interest, that sharing lawyer or private individual reduces his or her expectation of privacy. You cannot have an absolute privacy, lalo na sa mga panahon na yun. There will always be a need to strike the perfect balance between one's right to express, one's duty to disseminate information, one's duty or obligation to contribute to society on the one hand, and one's expectation of maintaining privacy. There should always be a balance between the two.
Attorney Castro, you wanted to contribute to that?
Yes, I wanted to add to what Attorney Tagarda said earlier. Once you become a lawyer, you carry the profession. So everything that you do would also reflect on the legal profession. That's why there's actually an expectation for us lawyers to conduct ourselves as lawyers, because again, we carry the name. As soon as we pass the bar, we sign the rules, we already carry the name of the legal profession. That's why we have to behave in a certain manner. So
So in a way, it's like you're saying that the moment you start sharing information on social media, the public gains this right to judge you, or you're, in a sense, you're being tried by the court of public opinion already.
yes, of course. Everything that you do through social media or even in person, if you act or behave in a certain manner, um, it will reflect on the legal profession. That's why we have to protect and we have to protect the name of the profession, and that's why we have to, I guess, before sharing or posting anything, we have to think twice, because um, again, you already carry the name of the legal profession.
I think that's a common experience of every person on online. The fear of being judged, or the danger of being tried by your peers in terms of their opinions. But maybe we can get more in terms of the legal aspect of it. Could you perhaps could I get your opinions regarding trial by publicity?
Yes, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, as a lawyer, we have handled some high profile cases in our firm that received unnecessary attention on social media.
Mhm.
However, I am a firm believer that subjecting an individual to trial by publicity in hopes of getting swift justice at the expense of due process is never the right route. In fact, this materially prejudice the individual's right to a fair trial. Oftentimes, trial by publicity has resulted in lawyers trying to fight fire with fire. So they they post demeaning material to one client, and then the other client will post demeaning materials to the other. So it's somewhat like a circus. The atmosphere begins to create. The atmosphere that is being created is like a circus, and that's not the the legal way to handle that.
But based on the data or from experience, does trial by publicity actually directly impact to the outcomes of cases for just and fair trials?
Well, it depends on the judge, really. Of course, if the judge or the tribunal or the quasi judicial body, they remain impartial. But then if the ideas in the public opinion goes against their decision, and then of course their reputation is might be damaged because of the trial by publicity that was already made by society.
Um, that's actually the drawback, no, of social media, because before it used to be the trial by publicity only happened when the news was given via the newspapers, for example, or the radio or the TV. But now it's so difficult with social media because the news reaches so fast, people so fast, and you can't even tell which is correct, which is fake news, which is just invented, which was changed. And because it's so fast, the ones who share these news are not even able to check the veracity or the truthfulness of what was issued. And even if they put it down later, because someone has already shared the fake news, it becomes difficult to control. And so trial by publicity happens so fast and it's harder to control versus, let's say, 15, 20 years ago, wherein the newspaper men, for example, had a chance to check the facts before they actually report them. They try to give a balanced view. They try to get each one side so that both will be given correctly to the public. But because of social media, everything just happens so fast. Everything can be changed online. You can't even trace where one came from, where the other was edited, where one was altered. So it's so hard. Luckily, I've never had to deal with trial by publicity because as a lawyer, I always try to make sure that the information is actually also shared right away so that people are able to determine which side they would want to believe in, or at least my side is given so that people don't come up with their own interpretations of what happened or their own views on things, because that's actually what happens when there's a void in the information. Then people tend to invent. And so I'm lucky that I haven't had to deal with the trial by publicity. But as lawyers, I think we all have to make sure that we're able to present the cases of our clients properly. We're able to give them the due process that they deserve. We're able to give the judge, most importantly, the information to show that the cause of our own clients.
If I may share my experience to our firm defends clients which may be perceived as unpopular, and you know what happens, negative publicity and all. But so it's negative publicity working against our client. So talagang ang damage niyan sa case iba talaga. But our lawyers, our group, we were trained not to fight fire with fire. We keep our cool. and we advise our clients to do the same. True enough, there are challenges from the negative publicity, but as lawyers, we are obliged to keep our faith in a system where judgment should only be based on honest facts and law and not on public opinion. Pero, okay, I'll be honest. Once in a while, as lawyers, you can't help it. You have to speak through social media. Kahit sino naman pwedeng magsalita ng saloobin through social media. Ordinaryong tao pwede. Now, but when we do that as lawyers, it's because there is a need for us to make our side understood by the public. Pero nevertheless, at the end of the day, as lawyers, we prioritize our efforts. We concentrate on the fact that cases at the end of the day are not decided based on public opinion, but decided purely on the merits. So yun.
That's true. Although you pretty much are saying that you take the battle to the courts. That's where you
Yes.
focus your attention. But given that it's inevitable, the social landscape is already burning in terms of the issues. And you can't just ignore that fire. You do need to have, as lawyers, you do need to develop and catch up with certain firefighting skills in the field of social media itself also. Because you can't just ignore it. You kind of just have to seed with certain preventive measures, perhaps. Maybe you could share with us some things, tactics, not necessarily that you've employed, but things that you feel could be used in terms of dealing with leveling the playing field in terms of trial by publicity and public opinion.
Well, based on our experience, if we have to deal with negative publicity or something that is against our clients in the social media, we maintain the basic response. We keep our cool. Simple as that. Mentras papatulan mo, mas lalo lalaki issue kasi.
True.
So we keep our cool. Kasi it's not difficult to do that because in the Philippines, cases are decided by courts, which are presided by judges, who in turn are presumed to be trained to isolate themselves from public opinion when they decide controversies. Different from other jurisdictions where there is a jury system, which are decided by members of the jury. Members of the jury, unlike our judges here, they are not really that trained to isolate themselves from the court of public opinion. So, hindi kami masyadong worried actually if there would be public opinion against our clients because at the end of the day, it's the judge who will be deciding based on facts, based on the law. Yun.
How about the other lawyers? Any opinions, comments, or anecdotes about your personal experiences with the issue of trial by publicity?
As a lawyer, my view is to likewise give press release as to what the side of my client is. Of course, I don't disclose the defenses right away, because it's also prejudicial to my client if I do that. But I would at least give the media a chance to report the case of my client fairly and to inform the public as to the side of my client. If I think that he or she is being judged negatively by the public based on news that has not been delivered properly.
How about Attorney Castro?
For me, this same with Attorney Tagarda, we release. Well, I can't speak for the other cases that the other associates handle, but with the case that I personally handled, we released a press release statement. But for us, yun din hindi namin siya nilalaban ng apoy, fire, against fire kasi lalaki lang din siya. So kahit ano na siya, what we try to do is we just go through the legal battle talaga. Kasi for us, the proper forum for legal disputes is actually through the courts and not through online. It's sad lang na people kasi, if it's trial by publicity, even if there's no conviction yet, meron ng nalilabel na sila eh. Kahit hindi pa na there's no court order yet, because of social media and like what Attorney Tagarda said earlier, it's super mabilis to kalat the news, fake news or real news. It's so easy in social media. One click ng share, ang bilis kumalat niyan. So, I think yun lang din yung downside of trial by publicity, because people judge kagad even if they're not actually convicted yet, or yeah, not convicted yet, but there's certain, they attach a certain ang daming hate comments na, even if it's not really true, but because it's very public, the trial, the case is very publicized, ano na siya, na meron na siyang prejudgment. Although I can't speak for how the judges rule, but I believe na dapat through merits talaga siya, talaga siya, pleadings siya, or hearings, yun talaga dapat. But yeah, I think that's the effect of trial by publicity. They get to judge people right away, even if the court hasn't decided on the case yet.
I guess we have we maintain our faith in the
Judicial.
powers, judicial
Yes.
system and the courts, and it's just that sometimes it's a problem in the court of public opinion. It reaches the point where the things that they say border on libel. So maybe
Yes.
maybe we can touch upon that topic then, cyber libel, and how in terms of your practices, how you've been able to address cyber libel and social media cases.
One problem with cyber libel is the question of jurisdiction. Under our penal statute, a libel, especially if an article, for example, or any material that may be defamatory,
Mhm.
it can only be prosecuted or heard in a certain jurisdiction, and once it's filed there, the court handling it acquires jurisdiction to the exclusion of others.
Mhm.
Ngayon, what's the problem with that? More often than not, a material perceived to be libelous would involve not just one individual or party. So maraming complainants, madalas yan. Halos every time, more than one complainants. And they choose to file their libel complaints in their respective residences or place where they hold office. Ang nangyayari, one article, various complainants, iba-ibang venue. That's one problem, because if you're the journalist targeted by that libel complaint, pupuntahan mo isa-isa lahat yun, which should not be the case. Under the revised penal code, if it's libel, in the court-acquired jurisdiction involving the same allegedly libelous article, the court acquiring jurisdiction assumes jurisdiction to the exclusion of others. That's one problem. Madalas it's taken for granted by our courts and even investigating prosecutors. They forget the issue on the exclusive jurisdiction of the court. That's one. Number two, double jeopardy. Why? Online libel got introduced here in the Philippines sometime in 2014. Before that, we have the classic form of libel under the revised penal code. Sa dyaryo, sa libro, we have that. So because of online libel, what they do, especially complainants, they file cases, 2 counts, one for online, the other for the classic form of libel. But it involves the same material. Madalas mangyari yan. It's a problem because it exposes the journalist to double jeopardy. Ang sabi kasi ng Supreme Court, if there is a material, it's printed on the one hand and then it's published online on the other, the journalist who posted that, who wrote the material, cannot be held for both kinds, or cannot be held criminally liable for both kinds of libel. Isa lang. Otherwise, double jeopardy, sabi ng Supreme Court. Why is it a problem? Hindi rin pa masyadong nasusunod yun ng ating mga courts at saka ng mga prosecutors. So that's one problem. Number 3, final. More often than not, you will only speak through social media because it is a matter of public interest. Minsan, pag private, hindi mo naman talaga i-broadcast sa social media yan. So when you speak social media, you resort to online communication. It's most probably it's public interest. Ang problema, we have complainants who, just because they are not pleased with what they hear about themselves in social media, they resort to filing libel cases already. So that is a problem because it gives chilling effects on those individuals to express themselves on matters involving public interest. Chilling effect kasi gusto mo sanang magsabi ng saloobin mo pero nag-alangan ka dahil babalikan ako ng demanda nito eh. So that's chilling effect. Those are the 3 problems based on experience we encountered with online libel.
Do online libel cases prosper and therefore provides that chilling effect that you mentioned?
We have a prominent media personality whose conviction was already sustained by the Supreme Court years ago. And a few months back, I think we have this another journalist convicted siya sa RTC for cyber or online libel. Although may appeal pa yan, hindi pa tapos, pero sa level ng RTC, na-convict na yung journalist na yun. So meron talagang nagpa-prosper. At saka it gives a chilling effect to our journalists.
So I guess it's almost like a double-edged sword, wherein cyber libel is something that you can utilize to protect your good name,
Yes.
your reputation, but at the same time, it's also something that can hinder the expression of truth or at least popular public opinion.
That's correct. That's why we have. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, yes, please continue what you were going to say.
It's double-edged, pero from the viewpoint of most of our libel cases is because we are defending a journalist. So rarely did my firm handle libel cases from the side of the one complaining.
Mhm.
And more often than not, what we experience really is it's really just the complainant really did not find pleasure in reading something slightly negative about themselves. So although on the one hand, tama yung sinabi mo eh, it's a way of protecting one's reputation. True enough. True. That's true. But on the other, medyo nagagasgas na. Konting talag lang ng kante, libel agad. Libel agad. Tapos may problema, jurisdiction, kung madaming complainants, file dito, file doon, file sa kabila, isa lang yung article. Tapos, bukod dun, you have libel online and then ordinary libel under revised penal code. So talagang kawawa yung journalist. So, dapat i-balance.
Hindi kaya tactic yan ng natutunan na gawin natin to because it helps to confuse the accused or to wear them down?
It doesn't confuse the accused, it harasses the accused. Kasi actually that law or the provision on libel which limits the jurisdiction to the court which first handled the case to the exclusion of others, that provision was introduced precisely to protect journalists from harassment. Kasi nung pormero, file lang file kahit saan eh. So inamend yung batas, ang sabi, kung saan na unang na-file, doon lang. If it involves that article. Pero ang problema, hindi na-raise or hindi, minsan, we have this experience, we have an experience, the court did not yet fully appreciate that particular problem. So, nag-proceed pa rin so far yung prosecution for the same libelous material, different venues. So, kawawa. Later on, let's see. Iakyat namin sa Supreme Court. Tingnan natin.
So this is in terms of media personalities versus people of influence or position. How about other perspectives from the other lawyers, other experiences, both not just the defense of cyber cases, but perhaps even prosecution, or at least just discussion of your opinions in terms of how to tackle or tactics in involving cyber crimes and cyber law?
Here I can give a different viewpoint based on my personal opinion. Parang ang dami rin kasi lately ng vloggers. Let's name vloggers who just keep on saying things and they get a lot of publicity and they don't even bother.
You're right. If I just may underscore, I can see where you're going to. There is a sentiment where everyone feels that they are entitled to not just have an opinion, but to broadcast it. And then secondly, on the opposite or flip side of it, everyone's sensitive. The slightest provocation can give you perhaps reason to either verbally...
Snowflakes na ang tawag, di ba?
Snowflake.
Yes, that's right. Dami ng snowflakes.
So, Attorney Tagarda, how would you were going to say in terms of those?
I was going to say, parang my personal opinion is, there's so many, I would say newbies in the social media landscape who just keep on posting, stating their own opinions without checking the facts or bothering to even find out in good faith man lang if what they're putting are correct. And so on my side, parang I always think na I have to protect my client's interest from these people who have no sense of even checking what they're placing online. And because I mentioned earlier that everything spreads so fast in the internet, parang the minute you get out of an event, it's already on your phone. The minute someone posts it, it's shareable right away. I feel empathy for those who are victims of these posts. And people have actually gone bonkers over these posts.
Yeah,
Parang have become suicidal because of these. So I feel so bad for those who are shamed. And my personal opinion is, if I had a client who comes to me, tapos yung complaint niya is someone posted about him or her online and nag-viral to, I would really go for the cause of the client and go after these irresponsible people naman who had nothing better to do than to destroy lives over the internet. I think that's not fair, and that's something that we as a society will really have to deal with. Because I think it also has something to do with the paradigm of people. You know, you cannot just go out and go to the internet and get solace and sympathy over the internet over things that are not even true. I think that this is actually punishable not only under the cyber libel law, but also under the civil code, under Articles 19, 20, and 21, where you're not supposed to take advantage of others. And I really feel strongly about that. I think that we all have to be responsible when we're posting something in social media.
May I add, one major problem with that is that sometimes people use fake accounts, so you cannot trace it. So the damage has been done. You report it, you have it blotted, and you go through the process. But then you cannot ascertain the identity of the one who posted because it's a fake account. So that becomes a problem. So we go to the NBI. The NBI, they have a division. I think they have a division there, the cybercrimes division. But it takes too long for them to trace the account, and maybe the account has already been erased. So that's a major problem regarding this topic that we are discussing.
I guess that brings us sort of into the realm of troll farms. And is there some way that we can bring trolls to make to make them accountable for their actions, and instead of being so slippery and slithery?
I think dapat pwede sila maging accountable, but it's so difficult because you don't even know which of these trolls are real or not. So that's something we all have to think of. Because in the Philippines, there's not a lot of social media law. In fact, there's probably none. We just connected to other laws like cyber libel, but nothing that really encompasses the entirety of social media. So one that is specifically targeted for trolls, I don't think there is. And second, di ba paminsan parang bots na yung trolls?
Yes, yes.
So you don't even know sino dito yung mga kahabulin mo. In the law, you have to go after a juridical person. So how can that be if that's not even a juridical person?
So in other words, if it's a shadowy organization, or if it's an electronic function that's persecuting you, then talo ka, wala kang laban, wala kang recourse in the law.
Well, mahirap to go to court because they cannot convict without a law. So maybe that's something for legislature to do. Like probably the Congress can take a look at that to see how we can beef up social media law so that we can protect people from these trolls and organizations and those who commit these acts over the internet.
If I may add, aside from there's a need for further legislation to protect yung rights ng mga netizens from harassment kagaya ng mga nangyayari sa mga trolls. It's also a question of having the technological know-how to catch them. Kasi sa ngayon, we already have laws that would prohibit defamation. We have libel, etc. Actually, mas mataas na nga ang penalty for libel if it's committed through a computer system. But the difficulty, I think, lies also doon sa paano mo huhulihin. Paano mo huhulihin? Lalo na kung dependent yun sa kagaling magkuha ng IP address, etc., mag-trace. So, yun talaga kailangan, the government should invest, or the state should invest on the knowledge to trace those trolls, to trace yung mga ganong actuations, mga ganong pasaway.
Well, if I may, just kind of, this is kind of like a lateral question. No? I'm just throwing it in to make things a little more interesting. Because what if you mentioned that it's the government who will come up with the laws to address that problem, that concern? What if, as a legal organization or as a group of lawyers, how can you present an advisory kind of proposal on how the government or the concerned agencies can approach this? Because clearly, maraming affected. Maraming pwedeng maging potential na kliyente na who want to be able to file cases in terms of being attacked by either possibly troll farms or even bots. Not necessarily an individual that you can persecute, like was previously mentioned. Is there? Because that's like a sub-industry that you can grow, a field of lawyership that you can actually cultivate, because maraming potential clients now would want to file kasi they were persecuted on social media by not necessarily an individual account or a real account. Is there a way that a group of lawyers can then lobby with government agencies and so forth?
Actually, the IBP has a very good voice, no, when it comes to legislature. My dad was formerly the national president of the IBP, and back in '93, I think, or during his term, '93 to '95, there was the oil deregulation law, and so the IBP had a strong voice. I think they had a say about what happened then. So binalik na overturn yung oil deregulation law at that time. And so the lawyers through the IBP actually are able to help determine kung ano yung mga laws na pwedeng ma-change, ano yung laws that can help the country. So if you're asking us how the IBP can help, malaki yung role ng IBP with helping the country come up with new laws through lobbying sa Congress and through, syempre marami rin congressmen who are lawyers. their staff are also lawyers, so we can actually, as an organization of lawyers, we can actually help these congressmen create laws that can adjust to the changing environment of the country.
Mm. If I may add, it's difficult to catch their attention. A lawyer, a single lawyer, an individual lawyer would be having a hard time catching their attention. So kailangan talaga, kaya nga integrated eh. Kailangan magbuklod. There is strength in numbers. They have to form a group. They have to unify, because doing it alone, baka they won't be able to persuade or even catch the attention of the legislators concerned.
True, that's just. Um, in terms of the youth voice, the millennial voice, and in the legal profession, Attorney Castro, how would you then be able to help influence the perhaps large percentage of the IBP organization who are young and upcoming lawyers to be able to help support such online initiatives?
I believe that the first step is for them to be active first in IBPQC. That's the goal, for them to participate in the events and to join us in raising or voicing out these concerns, because we would be the next generation of, we are the future of IBP, and the only way for us to take care of IBP is for us to be active right now. So I guess um, my goal really is to bring them to be active with IBP, all the activities. If we have events or whatnot, if you want to lobby something, be there, be present, be active, be involved. That's the main, I think that's the main, my main goal with the group, with IBP. It's to bring and encourage them to join and actively participate with our events.
The younger generation, tama si Kaisel, future ng IBP. Naks, I love it, future.
But it's true.
That's true. That's true.
Sooner or later, we would be the ones, lobbying for Congress to change certain laws. So,
At saka yung mga, I always believe yung pinaka well-versed sa batas ng mga abogado, yung mga bago. Kasi fresh na fresh pa from law school yung mga utak nila. I always...
And very idealistic. Very idealistic, yeah.
So,
May mga bagong laws lumabas sa bar nila eh. So alam nila yung mga yon.
So, fresh na fresh pa. Kaya yung mga bata, magagaling talaga yun.
but if I may, since I'm relatively new to the profession, it's very different. Studying law and practicing law, it's two different worlds actually. And yeah, it's something that we still have to learn as new lawyers.
and made more complicated by this added avenue or sphere of the social media platforms.
Yes.
It really complicates things a lot. I think, which is why, like you mentioned, individual lawyers dealing with social media concerns makes it seem like a nearly insurmountable problem. But organizing yourselves allows you to be able to address or tackle the issues one by one. I think maybe perhaps I can ask each of you to invite people, the members of the IBP, to note the date of February 27 and how they can help shape the new landscape of the law practice, of ethics and the practice, especially in terms of the digital space.
Yes, I would like to invite the whole community of lawyers, particularly IBPQC members, to take part in the elections this Feb 27. Let us participate. Let us join and be involved in the activities of the IBP. Let's be one community.
And Attorney Tagarda, how about would you like to ask people to be more involved?
Yes, I'd like to invite the lawyers to come and vote on the 27th. It will be a great opportunity for us to help one another and to be together, but with measures of social distancing. You can just come for 2 minutes, put in your vote, or you can even vote online. We can help you for the ones who do not know how to vote online. We can help you. You can send us emails so that we can assist you in voting online. And let's all work together so that we can help the lawyers in the country and make a change.
Attorney Castro, maybe something for the millennial lawyers.
So hi to the millennial lawyers, especially to my batchmates, mga quarantine lawyers. I urge you to get involved and be active with IBPQC. And on February 27, there will be an elections, and I hope you join us. And you know, let's exercise our right to vote.
For yung mga lawyers na hindi na pasok sa millennial gaya namin ni Attorney Gar, let us unite, let us be heard, let us participate, let us be active. Let's go out and vote on February 27. There is an option to vote online, or you can also vote face-to-face. Of course, subject to social distancing protocols naman yan. So, huwag tayong magpabaya sa obligasyon natin sa Integrated Bar of the Philippines. Bumoto tayo on the 27th.
Thank you, Attorney Gargantiel, and thank you, Attorneys Tagarda, Nazario, and Castro. This has been the Manila Times Coffee Break webisode on the Lawyer Social Network in terms of law ethics and practice in the digital space. Good day.